Today we're going to do an unboxing of the brand new Panasonic Lumix S1H, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on why I'm excited for this camera, but also why I'm really hesitant about it for a few specific reasons. Coming up. Hey, I'm Luke with Wedding Film Coach and Executive Producer at LW Films. And I'm so excited that you're watching this unboxing video. Thanks for giving me your time. I'm gonna get right into this unboxing and I'm gonna give you a few of my thoughts about this camera and about who it's for and about maybe what you can expect from it. So let's get into it. So as we're unboxing this, I just wanna say in all fairness, I am a wedding filmmaker, obviously from the name of the channel and my introduction. And I honestly don't think that this specific camera, the S1H, is for wedding filmmakers, primarily because it has been marketed mainly to commercial filmmakers who make their living making commercials using cinema cameras, meaning like the Sony FS5 or FS7, some of those lower end, the Canon C500, those types of cameras. So gosh, there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm gonna come back to these. I wanna get right into the camera. So yeah, I don't think that this camera is necessarily marketed to or designed for wedding filmmakers as a whole. However, one of the reasons I was very interested to get my hands on one is because I've been wanting to really upgrade my cinematography through my skills, but also my gear. And this seemed like a possible good direction for me. I don't think it is going to be, but I'll get into that later. And so we have the actual body, and yeah, for a mirrorless camera, this is probably one of the biggest mirrorless cameras I've had my hands on or that I've seen. I haven't held the A9, and so I don't think this is, this is bigger than the A9, the Sony A9. Come back to that. And then we have probably some instruction manuals in here. Yeah, here we got some manuals, S1H owner's manual, and yeah, just different languages. I do like to actually go through and at least skim, if not read through the owner's manuals for my camera, because instead of depending upon YouTube channels like myself or other YouTube channels that do lots of tech reviews, they don't always cover every single little new feature that may be in a camera. And especially since I'm new to the Panasonic Lumix family, then I really don't have a good basis for what all features are in here. So I'm definitely going to take a look at that manual later. And in here we have, got all the good stuff in here. So we have the S1H strap. We have the wall outlet for the power cord. We have the USB-C cord to plug into the computer. Looks like, oh, this is nice. They included kind of a guard to put into the side panel here where all of your cords plug in, so your HDMI or your power cord, anything like that. So that's going to help. So you don't have to buy that separately. That's very nice. Another cord to the wall outlet. Here we have the Panasonic S1H battery, and this is which battery is this actually? This is the DMW BLJ31 battery. I've heard that these take about an hour and a half to charge, and they give about an hour and a half to 2 hours of battery life. So we'll definitely test it out and let you know in some later videos. And here we have the power brick. Yeah, the power brick to for the wall charging. And here we have the battery charger. What a novel idea that they actually included a battery charger with their $4,000 camera. That's so nice. No, I'm spreading some shade, but Sony in their A7 III, they didn't include a battery charger. So yeah, I'm just still making fun of them. That's crazy. Anyway, moving along. So let me get all this out of the way. And now, let's just take a look at everything this is. So one of the more alluring features of this camera is that it has not only a tilt screen on the back. Oh, cool. Okay, so it does have a tilt screen on the back. If you're used to Sony's, that's nothing new. But it also has a flip screen, much like the Canons that everybody enjoys, and other camera makers as well. But Sony has yet to put a flippy screen into there. So if you want to vlog, which this would be a horrible camera to vlog with, don't vlog with this camera, please. But if you want to set up an interview or see yourself, or if you're making YouTube videos, again, this may be a little bit overkill if you're a YouTuber, you're looking for a good camera, but you have that function. And so it does both. So it tilts, it flips, and it tilts. And this is neat. It actually has a locking mechanism here, so to release that tilt function. And one of the big reasons they did this was not only just to include both of them, but so that whenever you flip this screen out, whenever that's tilted and it's flipped out, you notice that it's not going to hit any of your cords that are plugged in right there. And so I think that's a good move. I mean, that's smart on their part. I think that's a very functional decision. It may look a little funny, but I think whenever they were thinking about designing this camera, they wanted to make it usable for filmmakers, and they knew that people were going to be plugging in external recorders, battery sources, external power sources, microphones, HDMI cables, anything you can think of that you might put into this. So that was just really smart of them to think about that. I'm not sure if in earlier models they had a problem with that and this was just a problem-solving issue, or if they were proactive and thought ahead. But either way, I think it's a good feature. I'm not sure how I feel about it locking right there. You can see that. Let me just turn it upside down for you. You can see that right there. So I can't tilt it up unless I release that locking mechanism. So I'm sure that that's probably a function so you can just flip it or just tilt it and not potentially break that mechanism. But either way, it's cool. Another kind of buzzworthy function of this camera is that it has a built-in fan in it. And you can see these air vents right here. That's just behind that LCD screen. And that's gonna have a fan in there, and it's gonna exhaust out some of that hot air created from the sensor and just created from the internal functions of the camera. And so again, I think that's smart. I think that from what I've heard so far with different YouTubers that got early access to this, they said it's not loud enough to really mess up your workflow or to mess up if you're doing an interview or something. But this could be one of those things that it varies from body to body, from camera model to camera model. And so we'll see how it works on this one. I'll definitely do some videos on that. And so I'm not going to go into every single thing about this, but it's a very good looking camera. It feels good in the hands. It feels hefty. It feels like they were very intentional about everything they did here, from where they placed the dials to having several record buttons. There's a record button on top. There's a record button on the bottom. And I think I heard somewhere that you can add a record button, that you can use the shutter button as a record button as well if you do that in the settings. So it feels like everything in here is designed for filmmakers. So that's really cool. I like it. We will do more videos giving kind of reviews to this later on. So subscribe to the channel, give it a like, hit that notification bell. Specifically, and here's what I'll leave you with. Specifically, I mentioned earlier that I'm not convinced that this is going to actually work for me. The main reason is just a workflow reason, and that's autofocus. I use autofocus because I mainly use gimbals. Whenever I'm out filming weddings, I usually just film by myself, and so I'm moving quickly in between shots, and I really depend on the autofocus. And Sony has great autofocus. That's one of the reasons I've stuck with their system. I try not to be a fanboy, but I just try to use what works, and Sony works for me. So I've heard that the autofocus in here is not as good as Sony's phase detect autofocus. I hear that it is contrast-based autofocus, and so that might be, if you are a Sony person as well, that might be similar to what the A7S2 used, which it wasn't great, but it was workable if you were in good lighting conditions. So I'm expecting it to work about as good as that Sony a7S II worked. And you know, maybe I can use it in certain situations, maybe I can't, but I'm very interested to get this out and actually test it and try it. So I'm gonna take it to a wedding with me this weekend, and I'm probably not going to depend on it for my main footage, but maybe when the crowd starts dancing and I have a little bit more flexibility and I'm not pressed to get specific shots, I'll probably get this out and see how it does in low light. I may even get it out a few times in prep footage, getting some makeup and hair shots, things like that. Some nice close-up shots on the face, see how the skin tones look with this. So I mentioned one thing that I'm really hesitant about is the autofocus. One thing that really kind of made me pull the trigger and jump on this, at least to test it out, was not necessarily the 6K. So this can shoot in 6K resolution, which is really awesome. But the thing that made me very interested in it was that it can shoot in 4K. It can shoot in 4K 60p, so 60 frames a second in 4K. It does go into APS-C crop mode when you shoot in 4K 60. And so that's something that isn't a deal breaker. It's not quite as bad as what some other cameras have tried to do 4K 60 or just 4K at all. But I think that the 10-bit and the 422 color that you can get in 4K at 24 frames a second is really going to make a big difference if you're into color grading. I'm excited about it. That was the unboxing. I rambled on for a little bit, but hopefully you like this video. Again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and you'll get more about the Panasonic Lumix S1H from Wedding Film Coach. Thank you so much. I'll be seeing you soon.